Yes, we are boxing. We are back, myself and Paul Kelly. That means only one other thing usually, and you're right to assume it this time. We are in preview mode. We are previewing some super fights this week, heavyweight division, also lower weight division as well. We're not going to give you any spoilers on those necessarily at this point in time, but like I said, Paul, we are here. Heavyweight super fight, Riyadh season. Your man Anthony Joshua is back. He's fighting the 37-year-old boxer slash MMA fighter slash all-round strongman Francis Ngannou. Obviously, famous for recently in the boxing world for taking Fury the distance. Some arguably believing he could have won that fight. Paul, we don't like to break down too much of the tail of the tape, and frankly, everyone knows AJ's record. And as I said, Ngannou's is currently only 0-1, so not much to talk about there. But let's go straight in with the question I'd like to do. We'd like to test each other here. And the first question I'm going to ask you, actually, Paul, is where would a victory for Ngannou over AJ were it to happen? Your mind was to clear afterwards from the upset. Where would it rank for all-time heavyweight upsets in your mind?
Oh man, oh, what a question! What a question to start the video. You gotta have it right up there. Like I suppose there's a few ways you could answer this question. For me, you gotta have it right up there, right? For the simple reason that you think, the ones that spring to mind, right? You've obviously got Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson, right? But when you actually look at it, Buster Douglas was a bona fide, legitimate heavyweight. Hasim Rahman against Lennox Lewis again. Not like he's just coming off the street and beating Lennox Lewis. He's he's a boxer. You look at Ngannou. He's had one fight in boxing. Yes, he's an MMA fighter, but like you gotta have that right up there as all time heavyweight upsets, right up near the very top. Definitely top five. I'd say top three. You know what? Let us know in the comments what you think, guys, because I reckon there's some people will have this at number one. Even look at Joshua's upset defeat to Andy Ruiz. And like, although it's weird because the bookies had Ruiz as a far bigger outsider than they have Ngannou, but that's obviously off Ngannou's performance against Fury. So for me, mate, it's got to be right up there. But then at the same time, some people will say, is it that big of a shock if it happens, given how prior maybe to the Otto Wallen fight, Joshua looked against the likes of Helenius, getting tagged a bit. Franklin lost that killer instinct. Yes, he looked sensational against Wallen last time out, but the Joshua before that, the few fights before that, it would be a surprise if Ngannou beat him, given how he knocked down Fury and arguably beat him on points. I don't know, mate. It's a hard question to answer, and it's a really really interesting one. What are your thoughts on it? But I definitely have it. I definitely do have it up there, mate.
Yeah, you know what, Paul? I think thank you very much for that eloquent answer. I actually also have it's complex, isn't it? It's complex. It's complicated also, I think, by the performance that Ngannou put in against Fury. If he'd have walked in off the street, say, off out of the MMA world and just beating either Ngannou or Fury, sorry, beating either AJ or Fury, you'd be going, bloody hell. That's probably one of the biggest upsets, if not the biggest upset we've ever seen. But the fact he performed so well against Fury almost means that it might not necessarily get the respect it deserves if he does prevail against AJ. Although I totally agree with you. All the examples you gave previously, these guys weren't walking off the streets either. They were established fighters, established boxers. They had competed previously in boxing. So for me, I think you do have to have it right up there. I really do believe you have to have it right up there. And you also look at him, 37 years of age. So arguably, I suppose in his prime, but some people were saying at some point beyond maybe his prime. Very, very strong, very tough opponent for AJ, but equally AJ, I've criticised AJ personally myself in the past about where he sits, but he's still fully on board that top five heavyweight fighter. It's not like Ngannou's even fighting a guy who's outside the top 20 or even inside the top 10, like lower order of the top 10 that you can bully around maybe a little bit. This is like essentially, Usyk, Fury, Wilder, AJ, like a Zhang maybe as well. Those are like the premier names in the heavyweight division still. So he'd be stepping right to the very, very top and beating a guy who's obviously been world champion previously, unified world champion previously. So for me, it'd be right up there, Paul. I totally agree with you. What I'm now going to do though is, I feel like we've hit you with a bit of a rib shot early doors. So I'm going to try and give you a chance to sort of build back up now because I know you were excited and you alluded to it there, the performance Joshua against Wallen. I want to ask you simply really is whether you think that AJ's back to his very best or as a percentage on that continuum, how close to his very best you think he's getting toward.
Yeah, but I think looking at his fight last time out against Otto Wallen, I expected him to win. You expected him to win. Some people didn't expect him to win, Owen McKendry. But yeah, in all seriousness, matey, we was expected to win the fight, but there were question marks over what Joshua would turn up, given how we'd seen him against Helenius. Yes, he got the highlight reel knockout, but like his face was a bit bashed up. He took a few shots, didn't look great against Franklin. Looked gun shy. Then obviously the two Usyk fights. For second one was close, but comprehensively outboxed really both times. So you're thinking, what version of Joshua do we have now? But he looked spiteful. He looked powerful. He looked fast, agile. I think he did look somewhere back to his best against Otto Wallin. And then obviously you get the critics in the aftermath saying, "Oh well, Otto Wallin isn't all that." Yeah, we know that, but what people were picking him up as all that before the fight. Don't change your tune afterwards. So I think that AJ probably is back to somewhere near his very very best, and credit to Ben Davison there as well. Kind of. I think it's obviously just the talents there with Joshua, the power is there. It's just a matter of showing it, and I think Ben Davison has shown because basically got into Joshua's head and said, listen, mate, you just need to do what you do best and get back to basics. And I think that's what he did against Otto Wallin. And yeah, I think if he fights like that again, and kind of takes that approach to the Ngannou fight where he not reckless, but calculated, stalks his opponent down and lets his big shots go. I think it's fair to say that Joshua probably is back to somewhere near his very best, if not the very best. What are your thoughts?
You know what, Paul? I actually, again, thank you for your insight and breakdown. I actually totally agree with you. I think I actually had Joshua beating Wallen on points. I thought it was going to be another sort of scrappy affair. So I was actually pleasantly surprised to see him sort of come in there and really let his hands go. And again, you like say people were sitting there saying, "Oh, it's only Otto Wallen, etc." But equally, I think Otto Wallen was a guy that would have given someone like Dillian White problems. As a guy who's kind of just beneath that, maybe that top level, looking to sort of push himself on, beat Gassiev as well. So can't take that away from him. So it was definitely a credible fight, and a lot more dangerous than people obviously like to sort of. I suppose, retrospectively, giving credit for having after seeing how AJ dispatch him so well. But I think, like you said as well, the Usyk obviously did something to him, didn't he? Like he was outboxed by Usyk, couldn't stop Usyk, kind of tried to change his style a bit, kind of kept that hesitancy through Jermaine Franklin, also through Hellenius. Even when you look at the guys he fought like Pulev, it kind of started with Ruiz really. I think trying to went to that basics, trying to stay on the range, keep people out of range, etc., and box a bit better. And I think Ben Davison, you just said it there as well, deserves massive credit for essentially telling AJ to rip that sort of playbook up, basically let his hands go, especially against a certain type of fighter. And that is also why I think Ngannou's a perfect opponent for him here. Because if he goes in there, he should have the hand speed, he should have got the power to stop him. Goes and then lets his hands go. I fully expect AJ to get the job done. But that's when we're coming to predictions now, Paul. Again, you in previous videos have chivalrously gone first. I'm not going to do that to you, Paul. You're going to go first. So AJ and Ngannou, Riyadh season, 8th of March. Who wins, Paul? How does it play out?
Yeah, mate, no surprise here. I'm going for a Joshua win, and I think you know what? I'm going to get him to stop Ngannou. Ngannou's massive, probably big, more physically strong than Joshua. We've got his head is the size of boulder, so it might be very difficult to stop. But I think that that's all well and good until you do get punched flat in the face. And I think Fury was out of shape and didn't take Ngannou seriously. That wouldn't have happened with Joshua. I think that once Joshua kind of breaks the spirit and will of Francis Ngannou early doors, we'll get a stoppage somewhere in the mid rounds. I think it wouldn't be. I don't think it'll be too dissimilar to the Otto Wallin one. Maybe around 5, 6, 7 is where my mind's at for an Anthony Joshua emphatic KO. What about yourself?
Paul, we are in full agreement, baby. We are in Ridge's season, and I also agree. I think AJ is going to get the job done. I think he's going to get by stoppage. Again, like you said, Ngannou's got the head the size of a watermelon. But I think if AJ can get there with the hand speed as well, hit him enough times, I think he'll have the power to stop him. And I actually agree with you. I think he might have to come through some sort of holding a bit of a sort of sluggish onslaught initially from Ngannou, actually with the size and the essentially the durability that he may have. But I think he'll stop him somewhere between sort of 5 to 8 as well. So Paul, we're in complete agreement. Back on the AJ train, guys. Let us know in the comments whether you agree or disagree with this. Where you think a victory for Ngannou would rank, but even where you think victory over Ngannou for AJ would rank in his career. Check out the rest of the channel. We've got other sort of previews and reviews from that event coming up as well on the channel. Other interviews with fighters that are on the card. Paul, as always, thank you very much for joining us, and guys, as always, thank you very much for watching.